And if we're going to have more opportunities,
More opportunities, yeah,
to do it.
absolutely.
And they said on the flip side, they said you can have more of these kind of opportunities, or you can create the experiences without having them.
That's right.
But it's current human nature to be very isolated and thinking of only ourselves until we have to think of other people.
Yeah.
Until there's a crisis moment. People will think of their own direct, immediate family and friends, but we don't extend that kind of compassion and empathy out very much unless we're forced to. You are not alone. Just look at the people who are watching this. Look at the community that's available. One of the benefits of the online world is that it connects you. It connects you with your peers who may not be next door. Your community is far beyond just your city or your county or your state or even your country. The community now is a world. This is the power of your internet. This is the power of this communication channel that extends to everywhere on your planet. You can connect and create relationships and build communities. You don't have to feel alone. And it is important to not feel alone because it is not easy to walk a different path. We know this, we understand this. But seeing others encourages you.
You got to accentuate the positive. Wow, I feel good. A little bit of feel good goes a long way.
You're listening to Karen Swain, teacher of deliberate creation, accentuating the positive, showing you a way to a better life.
Accentuating the positive, it's not just fad, it's sanity. Who in their right mind would accentuate anything else?
If you feel like that's what you want to do.
Hello, welcome to another show, Accentuating the Positive with Karen Swain. As always, so wonderful to be with you again. I have another gorgeous, delicious, wonderful, spectacular woman to introduce you to. Do you like that? Bernette, all the way over there. Another one in Atlanta, Georgia. Bernette Sherman, welcome to the show, Bernette.
Thank you so much, Karen. I appreciate it. I'm excited.
Oh, don't you love the way she says my name? She listens. Many of the guests see the capital A and they don't ask, but anyway, I saw you on Kevin Moore's show. He's doing the docuseries on channeling, and I just loved what you were talking about with Kevin. Loved what you were bringing through. Felt very connected to your mob, same mob. But you're a woman of many, doing a lot. You're doing a lot.
I am.
As well as having a family. Let me just read your bio. It's quite long, but it'll cover everything that you're doing. Bernette Sherman is a best-selling Amazon author in a multi-genre sections. She writes of speculative fiction, including science fiction and fantasy, as well as inspiration, poetry, music, and scripts. She's also a coach of courageous queens, helping women to stop shrinking, freeing their inner queen through Queen Talk with Bernette Sherman on the Awake TV network and through her signature keys to the Queendom program. Interesting. I love all that. Bernette was Miss Cobb Country in 2019, a former Miss Black Georgia and Miss Black International. So as well as writing, bringing up a family, channeling, coaching, you also enter, I don't know what these things are, but they're pageants? Or
They are. They are. Yes. Exactly.
They're beauty pageants?
Well, you know what? My first, in a small word, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, we'll get into it later. Let me finish this bio. Where am I? She uses her experiences as a pageant queen, performer, and professional evaluator to help women own their power, uncovering their purpose, build actionable path forward, and courageously rock all areas of their life from the inside out. Her ministerial services is through Spirit Speaks, which is a collaborative project with your mother, Rebecca Washington, who's just gorgeous, who was also on Kevin's show. She uses her gifts as a channel, medium, and spiritual advisor to help others grow, heal, and develop their spirituality. Her latest venture is with her daughter, a party and event or entertainment business called Princess Parties. How old's your daughter?
She is 17.
Oh, wow. And she's in business already.
Well,
With
we are.
mom.
We had, yes, yes. Got to start them young.
Bernette beats her own path and sometimes has had a hard time following the rules and norms set by systems that feel outdated and unsuited to the ways of being and what she's writing. Bernette has lived in the metro Atlanta, Georgia area for more than 20 years. And in addition to writing, she's a mum of two and actor in local productions. Just, you know, to top it off, just like it wasn't enough, the pageant, the writing, Spirit Speaks, the coaching.
I'm a creative person, you know, it's...
I have to say, you sound a bit like me, wanting to do everything, but I soon found that I couldn't possibly do it all the things that I wanted to do.
You can't do it all at one time. That's what I found.
Yeah.
You can't do it all at one time.
But I loved your story on Kevin's show of your spiritual awakening. So what we speak about a lot on ATP Media is, well, everything really, but spiritual awakening and deliberate creation. And you sort of covered both bases. So the same stream of consciousness that flows through you is flowing through me. I call them the mob. But Seth was one of my first teachers. Obviously, you identified them as Seth or Seth'a. Anyway, do you want to tell your story? Let's like, how did it all start? Even as a child,
how did this unfold?
Yeah, you had things going on.
So as a child, and if you did see the Kevin Moore episode, I did talk about the experience of being a child and not knowing what was going on.
Yeah.
You know, you're a kid and things are happening. You don't know if it's real because no one else is experiencing it, but it's your normal, it's your reality. So there's a part of it that you're not questioning because it is the way it is for you. But if you ask someone, you know, did you see that? And the answer is always no. It does begin to say this maybe isn't so normal. And it was scary. It wasn't pleasant, you know, keeping me up at night, sleep paralysis, shadows, and it was very uncomfortable as a little girl to be experiencing that. And so I turned it off. Now, what I didn't realize, it was interesting because I was listening to a bit of what one of your episodes, actually. It was interesting because when I was young, I always had a good sense of what to do. I didn't know what that was. I just knew that I always seemed to know, like, don't do that. What to say in situations, how to respond to children, and people thought I was people called me an old soul. People would, you know, say, you don't act your age, and I didn't know how to be any other way, but I always felt like I could be by myself because I was never by myself as a kid. It was like,
yeah,
I was happy by myself in my room, talking in the mirror, you know, writing and creating. But I was also, in those moments, I was still receiving. I was still a conduit. I just wasn't receiving everything I had been receiving because it was scary, and I needed to turn that off to preserve, I think, to preserve my sense of self and my sanity at that age. At about 30, so a few years ago, you know, I've got a 17-year-old, so I'm not that young, but at about 30, I was at Plymouth Spiritualist Congregation in Rochester, New York, with my mom, and she points, a lady who was speaking, she was a guest, points at me, and I believe she must be pointing at someone behind me because what she was saying did not resonate. She says, you're clairvoyant, clairaudient, clairsentient. And I'm turning to see who is she really talking to? Because, you know, energy could be off of, you know, a pew or two, who knows?
Yeah, you're a multi-intuition, you know, oh gosh, what was the name? I had a person on the call herself.
Multi-Claire, I guess. I
Yeah,
don't know.
multi-intuitive, yeah, anyway, she had a label for herself and I thought, oh, that's so great. I'm going to use that, but now I can't remember it.
Can't
Yeah,
remember.
but you know, it just
But it
means
was one of those
you're
things.
tapped in. It's all going on. You know, I think that the older way is like, are you this or are you that? Or maybe some people have more strengths than this. But there are a lot of people that it's just like it's all happening.
It's going on, right?
Multi-intuitive, yeah. Mm-mm.
And it was really interesting because after she told me that, I was like, okay, I'm open to receiving that message. And I said, okay, I sat back down and I didn't think a lot about it. I thought about something else she mentioned about like the smell of pie. And I thought about my grandmother. I knew she was there because she made the most divine sweet potato pie ever. And when she said that, I was like, okay, she knows what she's talking about. I was getting other confirmation from other things. So I was open to that as well. But the next morning I wake up and it's on. It's like the awareness, my own awareness that it was possible, flipped the switch and it was back on. And it was,
Yeah, isn't it interesting? It's kind of like so many people are like, how do I develop these abilities? And sometimes you just need permission. It's just like you have permission to use these abilities, and that's all
to
you
use
need.
it.
Yeah, that's all you need. And then bang,
And that
you're off
makes
and
sense.
running.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were on. I was like, oh, that's interesting. I wasn't expecting that, truly.
Wasn't it Eric Medhus that turned up?
So he turned up 2.5 years ago. So
Oh, not at
I,
that time. Not at that
not
time,
at
but
that time,
okay.
no, because I was just, I was doing things on the low. Like I wasn't really sure I wanted people to know I was this, woo-woo woman.
Now,
And
now, what does Jamie say? It's not
I know it's not
woo-woo.
woo-woo, it's true,
It's true,
true.
true.
Yeah. I know, I love it.
I have
I know.
I have a similar mandate to Jamie in that I want to take it out of the woo-woo closet and just let people know that this is who we are. This
It
is how we
is.
operate before we learn to speak. This is who we are. Yeah, anyway, go on. Please
And,
go
and
on.
and that's one of the reasons, and we may talk about this later, but that's one of the reasons why I do so many things,
Yeah.
because I don't want to be in a box, and I want people to see that you can be all these other things. And this gift, accessing this gift, allows you to do it in a more powerful way. It allows, I would not have written 9 books if I hadn't had this connection.
Right.
I wouldn't have written the music I've written, or been able to pen the plays I'm writing
Well,
if I didn't
right.
have that connection.
Yes.
And so when people say, oh, okay, that makes sense, they can understand the muse. Well,
Yeah.
that muse is the same thing as, that channel. It's the
Yeah.
same thing.
And what's
And
really
so
interesting, we celebrate writers and singers and dancers and people that are successful, and they're actually using that same gift.
they
Like
are, exactly.
the Harry Potter she doesn't come out and say I channeled it, but she totally did. People
You
that
have to. Where do
yeah,
you get that from?
where you get that
Like,
from?
yeah. Like I know I channeled
Artists,
some of my
yeah,
books.
yeah,
Why? Because in some of them I can't remember what the heck the storyline was. What the heck
yeah.
did I write?
Mm.
I may be exaggerating a bit, but in some parts I'm like, where did that come from? What was I saying? I have to go back and really think like, what was I saying there? And because I wrote it 210 or 230,000 words in 3 months, just basically a whole series in 3 months.
Wow,
That's channeling.
that's
That's not,
channeling.
yeah.
Yeah,
So I want people to see that you can use this not just as, you can do readings, you can do it as a direct service, but you can use this in your life
yeah, totally,
to
absolutely.
expand your life, not just,
Yeah, you
you
don't have
know,
to set up shop as a psychic. You can use
exactly.
your psychic abilities. Yeah, look, when I first went on radio, I was on community radio, like normal radio that you listen to in the car, and we had to do the panel. And yeah, so I was using my psychic abilities to, instead of researching my guests, I just tune into them, and
Mm-hmm.
read them. So much easier, so much quicker. Or I just ask my mob, what next, rather than doing all this learning. You can just like turn up and you've got all this help all the time, no matter what you're doing.
You're ready. Yeah.
Whatever, you're ready. Yeah, you got the mob helping you. Anyway, please go on.
So,
Wow.
so between when I first turned it on and 2.5 years ago, I did some of the traditional offering readings and one-on-one services, doing fairs, doing coaching, healing. I did a lot of that, getting certified as a healer, studying, getting ordained as a minister in interfaith metaphysical.
Oh, interfaith, yeah.
Yeah. And then it's more metaphysical though. That's my direction with it. And then I'm on my mom's here on a vacation with me. And she's watching the Shiny show and mom watches these things. I'm like, basically, what are you watching now, mom? Right? And she's like, oh, I'm just watching, the Shiny show. And I was just down there to tell her goodnight. And I start looking at it for a few minutes. I'm like, I can do that. I'd never done it before. I'm like, I can do that. And that's when Eric shows up, right? And I'm like, there's someone here. I don't know who he is because I just don't know who he is.
So you weren't aware of the whole Lisa Medwho's channeling Eric and everything.
No.
I just love that. I just love this because people that are aware of it can kind of use their imagination to say, oh, I'm talking to Eric or whatever. Mind you,
I didn't know. So I had to ask my mom. I said, well, this guy is here. This is what he looks like, and this is what he's saying. And she's like, that's Eric. Yeah. And I still don't know who Eric is, but so she has to tell me who. Thankfully, I had my mom knows some of this stuff because, like, I didn't know who Seth was. Like, I literally was like, I had to text her and say, do you know who this is? Because I'm a little nervous. This is the bad guy from the Bible, like, because I wasn't sure. So I'm literally Googling it before I was all kinds of nervous about that. And she was like, you don't know who Seth is? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know.
But unless you were in this spiritual genre, you wouldn't really. I mean, if you were just living your kind of normal life, you wouldn't know who. I mean, I thought that everybody knew who Louise Hay was. And like, I'd go out to my parties, girls I went to school with, and they had no clue who she was. And I'm like, really? But yeah, they don't tune into this sort of thing. So how would they know?
Yeah, and you figure there's so much life happening. At least for me, there's so much life happening that, I have to be particular about where I'm giving my energy and time and researching. I can't research, everybody. And it's just like, I didn't know. Like, I didn't know who Seth was because I think, Jane was back in the decade I was being born. Like, that had.
Oh yeah, she was in the 60s. Oh, absolutely.
Okay, before I was being born. So
yeah, oh yeah.
So that came before me.
Yeah, definitely.
But and by the time I was of age, there were all these new people, I suppose. So
oh, absolutely. And Abraham's message has sort of come out of the Seth message. Same.
And see, I've heard of Abraham.
Yeah.
But I hadn't heard of Seth, and so it was a little bit. It made me a little bit nervous, honestly, But my mom put me at ease, letting me know who this was. And because
Mom.
The message, I'm so grateful for her because I can be like, Mom, have you heard of this? Do you know what this is?
So hang on, because I know that, you're, Jamie said you're in the Bible Belt there. And who became more aware of sort of multidimensional spiritual stuff? Was it you or Mum first?
It was me. Well, I left traditional religion.
Yeah.
18 in 2001. Okay. August 2001 was when I kind of rebirthed myself out of traditional religion. And for a while, I just I knew there was something going on, but I didn't really get involved in much. And then I started dabbling and looking into certain things. And then my mom reached out to me because she was having her own moment of leaving. And I'd written this like 40-page essay on leaving Christianity with like that I'd researched and studied, and and she asked me for the paper because I'd given it to her before, but she wasn't ready. And so she couldn't make sense of it. But when she was ready, she asked for it again. And I gave it to her again. And I think when she decided to come out, it was different because she was in upstate New York, where they have a strong spiritualist group.
Community,
So,
yeah.
yeah, very much. And she just dove right into that. I, down here in the South, had a little bit different experience. On the side of town I lived in at the time, there was nothing over here.
Yeah.
We didn't have a community. When I moved across town, there was. And so I did kind of meet more people and get to engage more. But it wasn't where I was, I don't know, I'm not this may sound horrible, I don't know, I won't judge it. I'm not a big consumer of other people's information.
Yeah. Well, that's
And
beautiful, because that's great. I am.
you know,
But
it's hard. I mean, I'll read some stuff, but I'm not like I have to digest everything that someone says. It just
well, that's because you've got your own mob that are there, your own team, your own spiritual team that are there to give you the information you need. So you don't need to really digest other people's
yeah.
information.
And my mom, we're funny because she is a studier. She will get books and she will like consume. She gets her mind on the subject and she will study. And we'll both get this idea for the same kind of thing. Like when we were doing spiritual attachment removal, I started channeling a method to remove spiritual attachments, and I started writing it out and basically wrote out almost like a guide for removing spiritual attachments. At the same time, she was also getting some information, but she had to go research hers.
Right.
And so we were both getting similar information, but in a different way.
Yeah.
And she's like, you just get it. I have to go study. but it's, maybe it's not fair, but I was like, well, everyone has their way of consuming. And if I can get it straight download, I'm going to take that.
Yeah. Yeah. I heard you say on Kevin's show, it was such a beautiful conversation you had with Kevin, because that was like a year ago. You've got the Christmas tree in the background.
It
So,
was almost 2 years ago.
oh, really? Because it only came out
Yes.
recently. So it was
It
like
just
2
came out.
years
Yeah.
ago.
So a lot of life has happened.
Absolutely, since
Yes.
then.
A lot.
Right. Yeah. So this might have changed, but he was asking you about, and your mom about community, because when you're in religious community, there's a lot going on, and you've got that community there
Mm-hmm.
that you do things with, and you said that you missed that. And I got the download from them, and you probably have done this already. Well, then you need to create a community.
And you know what's funny?
You've done it.
This is the funny part. This lets you know that everything is divine timing. So we didn't know when Kevin was going to start releasing these videos.
Right.
It had been almost 2 years. We were like, well, when he gets around to it, there's lots of them. We had no idea when it was actually going to start coming out. So in August, we said, okay, we are supposed to do something for community. We're supposed to create a community.
Yes.
And so in August, we launched the Spirit Speaks gatherings. So twice a month, we meet at our home. We probably have 10 to 20 people each gathering come, and we do lessons. I've done channeling. We do teachings, group discussions. And that started, our very first one was September 22nd. And then
Nice.
we've been meeting twice a month. But we had the first one. And then I think before the second one, the channeling session, or the docuseries with our session was released, and I said, wow, isn't that divine timing that we finally started to do these meetings and create this community, and then this comes out where I'm talking about how I miss community.
Yeah.
And, you know, I personally am really happy about it because it brings it close. It lets me be of service. It's part of my ministry. It creates community, friendships, and the group that I go to on Sundays for my spiritual place. It's literally around the corner, and that's where I was ordained. I've been involved. I kind of stepped back, and I've since stepped forward again and gotten more closely involved again with that group. And community really is important,
Oh, absolutely.
especially when you're surrounded, especially if you're in the South and you're surrounded by a lot of traditional belief systems. It's good to know that you're not by yourself, and there are other people who are on this journey too, and you're all learning, because it's not like I have all the information. We're creating a group so that people can share.
Well, that's right. Yeah, just to put something else on your plate because you haven't got enough going on. They're saying like it's not just about you channeling, but creating community so that you can come in together and sing and have other guests and like just create a place where people can come just to socialize or
Yeah, and we do a lot of that.
So that's cool. All right, okay, done.
Yeah.
So how did you meet Seth'a? Because I'm really interested in this because my story with Seth was my sister-in-law. It's funny how people wake you up, who didn't really follow through in any of this, but during her young, sort of tumultuous, what is the meaning of life, she found the Seth books. And then I was having a conversation with her, or my ex-sister-in-law, way back then, like 30 years ago. And she said, you know what books I like? I really like the Seth books. And I thought, oh, what are those books? So I'm into it. She's not, but she's found them. And then as I'm babysitting, a book jumps off the bookshelf, like on the other side of the room. I mean, it's crazy, right? But I had read the Shirley MacLaine books, and this is how we create our reality. And she had said the story that she went into a bookshop and a book jumped off the shelf and jumped and hit her on the head or something like that. And I remember saying, I want that to happen to me, meaning I want a book that I need to read that's going to be a part of my, to like jump out. And it happened. And it was Seth Speaks. And so I read all the Seth books back then and used to carry around The Nature of Your Personal Reality, which is a big book in my handbag. So I had to have a big handbag, which is crazy. It was just like I just needed to have it close to me.
At all times.
At all times. And then I had a crazy guy living next door that was kind of crazy, and I gave him my prized book, hoping that it would help him. But anyway, so I'm very close with Seth and part of the same stream of consciousness. Now we give names to these stream of consciousnesses like Abraham and Seth, and even the name Jesus or Mother Mary is the name of a collective consciousness, but we see them as this singular because we're in these singular identities. But
very much, yeah.
So how did that stream of consciousness introduce itself to you?
So it was that same period of time that Eric introduced himself. My mom had gone back, so she was in town. We recorded like 17 sessions while she was here so we could start our YouTube channel on that. And then when she left, I was like, okay, I got to get back to work, right? I got to get back to like editing my books, and I've got all this stuff. And I sat down and like, God, where do I start? I think I said something like that. And I got this message, why do you call me God? And that made me pause because I'm thinking, because that's what we call you. That's what we call you. and that started, at that moment I got out paper because I was like, I'm about to get a message here I need to write out. And I just started writing this message from Seth'a, saying that they wanted to introduce the feminine aspect, Seth'a. And it was about how they're not necessarily God, but they just have been around longer and they've experienced more, they're here to help, and all this other stuff. And I'm just writing because I don't know who this really is. And I figure I'll just get the message down and then I'll go figure out who this strange Seth character that's probably the evil guy from the Bible is, you know. So that's really, I was literally sitting down to start editing my next book and get back to like that kind of work. And I was like, and because I can't write one book at a time, right? I'm saying what should I focus on? Like what project should I be working on? And I'm asking God for some guidance, and I get that question, why do you call me God?
Yeah.
And sometimes I still go back because I still refer to God as that consciousness, that like it's an easy way to refer to that big consciousness.
Yeah.
And sometimes I still hear that question echo in my brain, why do you call me God? And I still am like, because that's what we call you. It's like,
Yeah, because look, you know, religion has its benefits, but it doesn't really talk about this. I mean, it doesn't really give you the expansion of your multidimensional reality. I had a chat to my mob and I asked, you know, when people pray to God, who exactly are they praying to? Because if we think of God as the all, the everything, the all-encompassing, and then we think about what that is, like the multi-universes and the multi-dimensions and the multi-races and ET, you know, it's just so huge,
yeah.
infinitely unfathomable. I guess when we're praying to that, what aspect of that is personally interested in me, in this tiny, tiny, tiny aspect of the all that is? So when people pray to God, you know, please God help me, what part of God is listening? And they said, your higher self. Like that's, you know, that you're an extension of source energy. So that higher self is that aspect of you. That's the God aspect of you. And I'm like, oh, that makes sense. You know, and then that's the part that's personally involved in, that's interested in what, you know, what you want and what you're doing. So it's interesting, God, you know, why do you call me God? And then I call them the mob instead of calling it God. I call them the mob, which is the same stream of consciousness that all teachers tap into when they're teaching.
And it's interesting. It
Yeah.
really is, because you, until you're asked something like that, why, like I believe that there is a creative force. What you call it, I'm not married to. God is an easy 3-letter name. Like,
Yeah.
and depending on what language you speak, you're not going to say God, you're going to say something else.
Yeah.
It's just like people call me Bernette.
Yeah, it's a label.
You know, it's a label
Yeah.
that helps you identify. And Seth'a is another label.
It's
Like I
another.
recognized when I was channeling that sometimes the voices in my head seemed to change. Like I knew it wasn't like one being. And so it's interesting when I'm channeling Seth, I almost feel like I'm sitting in a room and there's beings around the table, so to speak. But usually the more a more feminine ones come forth for me. Like, but there are a mix of beings around the table.
Well, that was a conversation I had with my team as well, my mob. You know, how could spirit be masculine or feminine? And this is what they said to me. They said, if you read the Seth material channeled through Jane Roberts, it was a lot of information. It was information about your multidimensional aspects, how different past lives dovetail with each other. Like it was a lot of heady information. And what they said to me was, humanity, you know, it was good information, but humanity just get caught up in the information. And what they want is they want people, and you said this too, I think on Kevin's show or somewhere, they want people to live this. And so it needed to be a more emotional, more personal message than just this information, because we can just digest reams and reams and reams of information and not change our lives. Like, oh, that's interesting, next. Oh yeah, that.
Right.
And then we all argue about it. No, that's not right, I read this and that's right. But
And
we
you're
don't,
just looking at facts and
you're
not,
just looking at facts. You
yeah.
don't have personal experience. And they're saying, you know, now you're at this precipice, you need to have this information as your personal experience. And so it's more emotive, it's more, so that's what they called the feminine, rather
And I
than
would agree, yes.
this logical, just like have it hit the logical mind. It's got to hit the heart, it's got to hit It's got to find the emotion in you.
Which
Yeah.
is, they
So
probably would not have chosen me if they were looking for the logical, because I'm not sure I could have translated that.
I think you're really good. I think you're really good at channeling, Seth, because it was pretty heady material in those days. That came through Jane. Yeah, I think you're good at it.
Maybe I'll go back and maybe now I'll go back and read some. I still haven't. I'm like, I know I should, right? It's like on my to-do list. Maybe I'll go
No,
back
you don't need to. You've got them on tap. Well, they say to me,
to see what they said 30 years ago or 40 years ago or
yeah,
however many.
a long time ago, 50, 60 years. Yeah, 50 years ago, a long time ago. Yeah.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah, in the
I'd have to
60s
go
she
back
was
and
channeling. Yeah.
to research that. It might be interesting. But it's
Yeah.
interesting because I don't necessarily always go back. Like I didn't know I didn't remember what I'd said on that interview
Right.
because we did it. I don't necessarily remember what I say.
Yeah.
Like in the it's almost like a dream. For a minute, you remember some of it. And then it's like, I don't really remember. And so it was interesting watching it 2 years later.
Yes, it must
And
have been.
I said that? That came through? Really? I'm like, huh. And it's a little uncomfortable watching yourself. It's just like, which is why I like never watch myself in replay. but it was really interesting because it had been 2 years. And so I felt like some of the things had already started to happen.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And
So
because 2
how
years had
has this
passed.
changed your life, apart from being multitasker? How has, channeling this sort of consciousness changed your life in that, in that couple of years period?
It's helped me. Sometimes I'll go back to the love and trying to do things out of a place of love and to have more fun. Like I have Seth, but I also have my own guide, Arthur, who I also channel, and she's closer. She's my ace boon coon. She's always with me. And one of the things that I get from both of them is more love of life and also being more conscious of how I impact our planet.
Yeah.
And that, like a lot of the Seth, and I'm getting emotional right now. A lot of the Seth stuff I keep comes back to how we are on this planet. And sometimes I think about how we treat our Mother Earth and the fact that we are dispensable. She is not. And she has survived everything that's been thrown at her, every organism that's ever lived on this planet. And she will continue to be here even if we aren't.
Yeah.
And, I'm like, I do feel like we really need to be mindful of the fact that if you don't vibe with her,
Absolutely.
You are dispensable. And part of that has influenced even the work I do, cleaning up. It's not just, yes, you can have things that are on a material level, but growing at a spiritual level so that what you do, what your actions are, the love you spread, doing things to share your love, to share your truth, to be courageous enough to walk your truth is so important. Because if you're not, it's like they have this message and they say, this is who we are. This is the shift that needs to happen in this world. This is the shift that's happening in people. But we still need people to do this. We need the army of people who are waking up. And it's part of what we do with Spirit Speaks. It's like we have to, we have to do this. Mm. And I know a lot of people who are very spiritual, you don't have to do anything. No, you don't have to. And we recently channeled this message, and because I don't ever remember it exactly, because I can't remember exactly what I channeled, there was something in it that said, You don't have to do it, but if you don't do it, every person you are supposed to reach, every person you are supposed to touch doesn't get touched. The changes that you are supposed to make don't get made in the lives in the world or in the lives of the people you were supposed to make those changes in. And then that just trickles down. And then what impact did your saying no to what you agreed to do before you came here?
Yeah.
What impact does that have? Because you said after you got here, never mind, or I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
So no, you don't have to, but there are repercussions.
There absolutely, and there are personal repercussions, and they're set up that way. I was talking to someone on some show, I can't remember who it was, about mental illness. Oh, it was Jamie, yeah. And, mental illness like depression is your sign that you're not fulfilling your life plan. When you say you're going to do something and you don't do it, then, yeah, you get the call.
Yeah.
And the call is usually depression. Yeah, like you don't feel like you're living on purpose because you're not.
Yeah, and you can feel that way when you feel like you're trying to do it, but you're not doing it like you know you're supposed to be doing it.
Yeah.
I know for myself, I went through a period of depression where I felt like I was striving. I'm trying to do and fulfill God's calling for my life, and like I wasn't making the inroads I thought I was supposed to be making, wasn't having the impact I thought I was supposed to be having, and feeling like a failure. And to the point where like I was questioning whether I wanted to live, and
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
being able to come out of that. And it took work, and it took one of the programs I created to help other people do the same thing, but it's real. My father has been living with depression for 40 years.
Right.
And he's been suffering from mental illness. His mental health for as long as I've known him.
Right.
He's never been stable.
Okay.
And he's never been living on purpose.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it happens. I see it all the time because I have the ability to know why people are here. It's part of the work that I do, as a supporter and activator and accelerator of the New World Teachers. The show is all part of it. I can see why people are on the planet. And I see when people are doing that. Like I see it when they get caught up by the distractions of life. It's like God, for a better word, or your higher self, or the powers that be. They don't make you do it. Like you don't have to. Like you've got a choice. You've always got a choice. Like you have a choice. Do it, don't do it. Your choice. Free will, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's so interesting. There are so many light weavers, star seeds that have come here specifically to be a part of the shift, to be, and then they get kind of swept up in the human drama, and they sort of go, they just forget why they're here. It's happened a lot. So
I would imagine.
When you were channeling on Kevin's show, and we'll get you to do a bit of channeling hopefully at the end of this, that message was coming through really profoundly. I felt like they were saying this is a new generation, and the message didn't really have the impact we thought it was going to have. And so we're trying to get that message through as many people, because I think Kevin asked you who else channels Seth, and
Mm-hmm.
he's like, oh, they're like, oh, we channel through many, 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 many. We
Right.
might not be called Seth or Seth'a, but we channel through many because, yeah, we're trying to
spread the message.
We're trying to get
wide.
you humans to change. We're trying to get you humans to love each other and love the earth.
It seems like such a simple thing, right?
It's
like
simple.
simple.
But oh dear. Yeah.
But it's obviously it's not as simple as we'd like, because we are struggling with it. And it's impacting our generation, it's impacting the next generation. And if we don't curb it, if we don't change something, it's going to keep impacting the generations after until we don't have a planet. Because if we continue on this course, we may not have a planet. The planet will be here, but we may not have a planet. Because, she will survive. She has you know, she survived the dinosaurs and everything in between. I mean, we're not that hardy. She's hardy.
Yeah,
And
she's going to
I don't,
stay.
yeah, she's going to stay. And I don't want us to be in a situation where we don't have a home. I
Yeah.
mean, Earth is a learning planet, and
It's a unique experience, yeah.
it
I mean,
is.
look, I've had a lot of conversations, a lot of different people on the shows about this, about Earth changes, the upcoming Earth changes, and you know, lots of people that you know that are star seeds that are sort of here specifically, like you. I call you a star seed because I know that you kind of come. You've been playing on other experiences. Let me say.
I have. I do know that I have. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why they called you an old soul or mature or different or anyway. And it's kind of like a kid in a candy store too. When you come here and you have this immense creative ability, you just want to do everything. It's like, but I want to do,
It's
I want to sing,
hard.
I want to dance, I want to do this. This
It's
is really,
really hard. It is really hard. But you probably understand that you know,
yeah, I get it.
creative. It is. And I literally have to pause and rein myself in.
Mm.
Say, Bernette, you can't do it all at once
Yeah.
because yeah, you can't.
So I was on a train of thought, but I've lost my train of thought there. But yeah,
Oh,
star
that
seeds.
you were talking to people who were other star seeds
Oh,
about the change in the
yes, Earth
planet.
changes. So the last
Mhm.
show I did with Kevin Briggs, he's got a team, a galactic team that have been in constant contact with him his whole life, said that they want to make themselves known because specifically they want to give their technology to humanity to help us clean up our mess, you know, like
Ooh.
and so he revealed a date where they intend to, but there needs to be protocols in place for that to happen. So it may or may not happen. But it's really interesting. They're trying their hardest for us to get it, you know, as far as living in harmony with Mother Gaia and yeah, and feeling more connected to her, to the planetary being, as well as to each other. I mean, we're so busy fighting with each other. How are we even going to have a hope in hell of being connected to the planet? We can't even get along with each other. Yeah,
Which is
so
which is that love. And it's, I don't know, people, I hate to say it, but the things that bring us together are when people experience trauma,
yeah,
collective trauma,
exactly.
and suddenly there is this coming together.
That's right.
And wow, I just got a message that we're going to see more opportunities through collective traumatic experiences to help us come together.
A lot more opportunities, and that's what a lot of people have been talking about. In fact, we're you know, literally in the thick of it in Australia. I don't know if you've been watching the news, but I woke up this morning and we're blanketed in smoke. So I live on the coast in a big
Mm.
city, but we are just surrounded by fires, and there's been huge devastation, and it's been going on for weeks and weeks and weeks. Last week I was like, I don't smell any smoke, and then for the last few days we've just been blanketed. I've been blanketed.
It's
Even
everywhere.
it's everywhere, and so that these are the opportunities that bring community together. They're not the best
Yeah,
opportunities, but you're right. You know, trauma does do that. When there's
it
trauma,
does.
people come together. They forget about what religion you are, and they forget about the argument. You know, like your God, my God, who's right, who's wrong. They
Yes.
forget about all that. You know, we carry on with
And it's about helping each other.
yeah,
And if we're going to have more opportunities
more
is what they said,
opportunities. Yeah,
to do it.
absolutely.
And they said on the flip side, they said you can have more of these kind of opportunities, or you can create the experiences without having them.
That's right.
But it's current human nature to be very isolated and in, you know, thinking of only ourselves until we have to think of other people. Until
Yeah.
there's a crisis moment. People will think of their own direct immediate family and friends, but we don't extend that kind of compassion and empathy out very much unless we're forced to,
Mm, mm.
or pull so deeply at our heartstrings that, you know, we must, and it's a need to do
Yeah.
it.
In trauma, we find the common thread, really. You know, I remember reading Seth years ago, and the thing that stuck with me of all the information that came through, because I don't remember quite a lot of it, is this. He said that, or they said, I can't say it's he. They said that there are two rules to life. One, you create your own reality, and two, there are no limits.
There are no limits.
Isn't that
I
fantastic?
like that. Yeah. You create your own reality and there are no
No
limits.
limits. Oh, no limits. It's just like the rules, there's rules to life, like that just opens it up. You create your own reality and there are no limits. What would you like to say? I wrote down a couple of things when I was watching you again this morning, to children that are, and teachers of children that are, maybe I should ask this of Seth. I might ask that of Seth actually. Are you okay
Mm.
to, or Seth'a, or your mob? Let me call them your mob, stream of consciousness. Yeah, we can give them another name.
They can, we'll see, because Arthur comes through, sometimes Seth'a, sometimes both of them.
Yeah, whoever wants to speak. I'm
Yeah.
not picky. Whoever wants to speak.
We are here. We have Seth'a. They said, we've been waiting for you. They said, we've been waiting for you.
For me?
They're happy. Yeah. So they're happy to have you here.
Hello, team.
Hello.
It's so nice to have you on the show. Well, I think you're always here in
So
every
we
show,
are,
really.
but it's fun to talk outside
Yeah.
of you.
What would you say to the children of our planet, and their teachers? This is a question. You know, they're the ones that Bernette and I have been talking about earth changes and opportunities to find more unity through earth changes. So the children are, you know, uprising all over the planet, kind of talking about how we haven't stewarded the planet for their future. What would you like to say to them?
Suffer not the little children. That is a phrase for a reason. I would tell teachers, mothers, parents, fathers, even older siblings, to care for children as if they were your future, because they are. If you instill compassion in them, kindness in them, wisdom in them, understanding and knowledge of what this planet is, how powerful this planet is and its potential, it will pay dividends in the future. You will have children who will teach you with kindness and compassion when you need it in your elder age. Right now, children are disconnected from their elders because there's a lack of compassion and caring and nurturing. The school systems raise robots, not children who are capable of excelling, being creative, and creating a world that serves all of us. Your world is fragile, not because it is fragile, but because the planet lives with you, and you are fragile, and you are such a great influence on this planet. So I would tell you to tell the children that they are valuable, that they are loved, and make sure that they know this and understand this, because you will need their compassion and you will need their understanding and you will need their love as they become the leaders and the rulers of the future, because they will be the ones who must care for this planet. They will be the ones who must fix the errors of the elders. Your greed, your need for control, power, money, and wealth, your need for resources beyond what you truly need, excavating the land, destroying the soil, clearing rainforest, clearing and polluting areas that were never meant to be. They will be responsible for cleaning up the mess. It is not fair, it is not just, but it is so. Once again, suffer not the children. Do what you can now to make it easier for them. Do what you can now to clean up what you've already made a mess of. Do what you can now to replant trees, clean up the waters, provide habitats to those who've been displaced. And teach, please teach compassion, empathy, understanding, and kindness. These will take the children farther than simple knowledge and information.
Well, you've already answered a question that I was going to ask, really, what would you say to the teachers? But I think you've already said it.
Yes.
You mentioned the teachers and the parents. And so, with these opportunities to have more unity, as Bernette said, with these earth changes, what would you say to people about preparing for these?
You cannot prepare physically. You must prepare emotionally, spiritually, mentally. The shifts must occur within for them to be experienced without. You must do the mental work, do the spiritual work, do the emotional work to elevate yourself so that your vibration is higher, because your vibration will shift and change your physical nature. So that as the earth changes, you are changing along with it. Your impact will change along with it, the impact that you have on the planet. And you'll find that you won't need things that you thought you needed. You'll find that you won't have cravings for things that you thought you once had to have. This is dietary. You'll find that your diet will change as you elevate your spiritual, emotional, mental self. That is how you will shift and change along with the planet.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, because exactly. As the changes happen, it's going to cut out a lot of the different resources of food. Yeah, yeah. So we need to shift in that respect.
It is very
Too.
important.
Yeah, yeah. And so many of the younger kids that are coming in there are just vegan. I've been a vegetarian vegan all my life, and my sister-in-law, every time she invited me over for dinner, would cook me meat. But then when she had her children, half the kids that come over are vegan. Anyway, okay, so what about the new earth? In the last channeling that you did through Bernette, you spoke about earth in another reality. Could you speak more about that, please?
We do many channelings. I believe you're referring to the overlay.
Maybe the overlay, yeah.
So yes, so your planet has layers of so you have this physical planet, but there's an ethereal spiritual planet as well that is overlaid, that is a mirror, so to speak, of this planet. That is what is coming forth. It is a birthing forth out of the ether into the physical. I am trying to put it into words that would be comprehensible.
So would you
It's
say
almost,
as the collective, as more people dream about the new earth, we're creating it. We're creating it in an etheric realm, and that
we
is
are creating it,
become, yeah,
but all are creating it,
all are creating it. Yeah.
not just those who are intentionally creating it.
Okay.
So unfortunately, all are creating it, those who have negative thoughts about what the world will become and those who have positive thoughts about the world. And so it is constantly shifting, which is why there need to be more positive people who put their intentional thought into creating this new reality.
Right.
So that it becomes a beautiful place and not just a mirror of what the world is presently. However, this is the other part. It is an overlay, and the physical world that you have now is pushing people out. And I say this as kindly as I can, but those who cannot vibrate at the level of the planet will choose to leave.
Right.
And their influence will no longer be felt.
Okay. I get that.
Allowing the more positive influences to remain, those that are vibrating where the planet seeks to go.
Yeah.
But until that happens, you've got both coexisting and both impacting the creation and the creative process.
Right. Right. Yeah.
It is a transition.
Yeah. Right. Yes, I get that. You've shown me that as well. So it's really beautiful that I've had that confirmation today. Because sometimes we can doubt what we get, the information that we get, but it's beautiful to have that same information coming through many streams.
Yes, do not doubt that this is one of the most important changes in the history of mankind. There's not been a change like this before. And it is why there are so many teachers, there's so many people bringing through higher levels of consciousness, because we are working very hard on the other side to help heal this planet and prepare it for its next level.
Its next evolutionary process. So what would you say to those people listening to this who know that they're here as difference makers, light weavers, they've come to be a part of the shift, and maybe they don't know how, or they're scared, or what would you say to them to help them know that they're important?
You are not alone. Just look at the people who are watching this. Look at the community that's available. One of the benefits of the online world is that it connects you. It connects you with your peers who may not be next door. Your community is far beyond just your city or your county or your state or even your country. The community now is a world. This is the power of your internet. This is the power of this communication channel that extends to everywhere on your planet. You can connect and create relationships and build communities. You don't have to feel alone. And it is important to not feel alone, because it is not easy to walk a different path. We know this, we understand this. But seeing others encourages you. Knowing that others are doing it will encourage you. Know who you are first. Know where you stand, know what you believe. Be open to learning, be open to truth, be open to the power that we have, because what we have can flow to you. It is accessible to you as well. We all have the same power. We have learned to access it and use it in a different way because we have lived longer. We have been around, and we're trying to help you access yours and use yours in more powerful ways. You have power beyond what you all use, but you limit yourselves because of your rules, because you believe that you cannot, so you do not. So if you're listening and you know that you've come here for a greater purpose, if you know that you've come here to help shift and change the world, to be an influencer, to create change in your generation or the next, then walk that path. You don't have to know 10 steps ahead. You just need to know tomorrow is going to come and you're going to walk into it. The next day will come and you will walk into it. And you walk into it in faith, believing, knowing that you are here on a purpose, on a mission. And you don't have to be a titled person. You don't have to be a healer, a psychic, a medium, a channel. You can be a banker, a teacher, a doctor, a mailman person. You can be anything and still do this. It is allowing your light to shine wherever you are, to be a beacon of hope, to let your light and your vibration attract and shine on other people, elevating and lifting their spirits. Because as you elevate and lift their spirits, we elevate the vibration of everyone and elevate the vibration of people living on the planet, helping to bring forth that higher vibration planet. So do not feel like you have to leave your life to follow a calling. Follow the calling in your life.
Beautiful. I'm just going to repeat that. You don't need to live your life to follow a calling. Follow the calling in your life. That was just beautiful. Thank you so much, Seth'a. So inside the collective stream of consciousness that's flowing through Bernette right now, what sort of galactic influences are there? Because I feel it strongly.
Well, we are from 7 systems.
Okay.
We come from some that you do not know
Okay.
because you are not ready to know. And ours, because there's so much, people have egos on your planet.
Really?
People
No.
want to claim that they know this, that they know that, that they channel beings from this system or that system, and our system is better or your system is better, and we must listen to you and not you. And we do not wish to create that kind of discord.
Fair enough.
But we come from 7 different systems.
Beautiful.
And yes, we come from some of the ones you have heard of before. And we all share the same message.
And what message would you give Bernette about her wanting to do everything? Have you got a message for her while we're here?
She knows she can't do it all, not at one time.
What would be her priority at this time?
She's supposed to be having fun. We have told her this. She's supposed to be having fun, and she's supposed to be doing her service. She's recently was given, and she knows this new idea for the new business, which allows her to do that service and be a light, follow her calling, and do a work, and so have fun. We've told her to be lighter. She can be heavy. She can be very serious.
Well, I think that applies to all of us who are thinking about our future and what's in store. We can get really heavy about it. And being heavy and worried is not going to actually help it. So being reminded to have fun and to be lighter is a really great message for all of us as we contemplate what's in store in the next 10 years.
Yes, it changes your vibration, fun and joy and happiness, which happens to help raise the energy of the planet.
Absolutely.
So we've asked her to have more fun.
Yeah, so exactly. In your joy, you're actually changing the vibration of the planet. So you're doing your work when you're in your joy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Any last message that you'd like to give to people listening?
Yes. We want people to know that you don't have to change who you are. You came to this planet in a certain body, in a certain way, with a certain mindset, with certain ways of being that were given to you to serve you on this planet. Not that you can't be open to new experiences, to new ideas, and to change, but don't change who you are. Who you are is your strength. It is what will help you live the calling you've chosen to live. The calling that you set forth before you came here, and then you designed who you are to match that calling so that you could fulfill it. So don't change who you are to suit other people, because then you will change how much impact you can have on the calling that you said you were going to have in this life.
Beautiful.
Be who you are.
Be who you are. Allow the divine to flow through the what. The who is the source energy. The what is the personality, mind, body complex, and allow that divinity to flow through that who in all aspects.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Bernette.
All right. Thank you.
That was beautiful. Oh,
I'm trying to remember what some of what they said before it goes.
oh well, it's
That's
recorded.
true. It's recorded.
And I asked a little message for you. Do you remember what they said about you?
I do, because it was most recent. And I'm having more fun. I'm creating that in my life. Have more fun, less stress.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, it's been so beautiful. I suppose, I don't know if people are reaching out to you for readings. You don't really do that, do
I
you?
do a
You've got
little bit.
programs.
I do a
Oh,
little bit.
you do a little
Yeah.
bit.
Only because of time. I don't fill my schedule with a lot of individual appointments, but I do
I know.
a few.
Hmm.
Really, my thing is I'm not one of the kinds of people who wants to do future readings. No, don't tell
No.
me I don't want to tell you the future. I want to tell you what's going on in your life, what's going on below the surface, so that you can
I know.
change and create your
I
own
know.
future.
Exactly. That's what they've always said to me. As a reader, you're not telling people what's in their future, you're telling them how to create their future.
Yes.
Because what's in their future is probable realities. Like, depending on the vibrationary trajectory that you're on right now, you've got a probable reality that's in front of you. And
Yes.
actually, they've said that about the Earth as well, that they can't really predict what's going to happen because we haven't decided yet through our collective frequency, for our collective dominant
Mm-hmm.
frequency. And so there are different probable realities out there for Earth, just like there's different probable realities out there for us personally. Yeah.
Right.
So it's not really important what's going to happen. It's like knowing that we have the power to create it.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
So when I do work with women, it's really going deeper and saying, okay, this is what's really going on, which is why I do have the program. And sometimes it's, you work through the program and then you can work with me so that you
Yeah.
get some
Right.
foundation, because otherwise people, it's like, well, what's going on? Well, have you done the work? Have you done the personal work?
Yeah, exactly.
Because a lot of people, they don't want to do the work, unfortunately. But if you don't do the work, you just keep coming back to same cycles and
Absolutely, especially when
different
it
around.
comes to accountability, like forgiveness, like blaming others for how you can't feel good. Some
Mm-hmm.
people, they can talk the talk, but walking the walk is not always that easy because it's like, but if I forgive them, then does that say that like if I let them off the hook, then am I a terrible person? But
Yeah.
yeah.
And so, yeah, there is that.
Mm.
And forgiveness is one of those difficult ones. But, it's like for giving, it's something you give. It's a gift that you give yourself and you
Absolutely.
give someone else. It's not just
Well,
giving them.
according to what we've spoken about today and what Seth'a has said, you not only give yourself, you give everyone. So as you lighten your own frequency, you're giving that to the world. Yeah, because
Yes.
we're all one. So, oh, Bernette,
Yeah.
it's been such a joy to speak to you today.
I've had fun. I've had a great time.
Any last
Yeah.
thing you'd like to share with people before we wrap it up?
Just, if you are on social media, I just hope people, look me up. I'm on Instagram and Facebook, and I'm online. My books are all online, and
You've
I don't
got
mind people
you,
contacting me.
you've got a few websites. What website would you like people, like on the YouTube, what website would you like to sort of promote during this?
People can find the basic stuff about me at BernetteSherman.com. From
Okay.
there, they can, whatever floats their boat. But BernetteSherman.com is a great starting point for.
Because you've got Spirit Speaks with your mum.
Yes.
And now you're on, you've got your own show on, what's TV network is that? The
It's Awake,
TV.
awaketvnetwork.com, and that's Sunday mornings at 9 a.m. Eastern, 6 Pacific. And it's
Okay.
Queen Talk with Bernette. And I'm excited about that because
Is this a new
all
thing?
things Queen. It is. So the first episode aired this past Sunday,
Okay.
and it's weekly. And it's going to be fun. So I'll
So
have
you're
guests
talking
on.
to women. It's about, like, sounds like women's empowerment, freeing their inner
It
queen.
is. Yeah, it is. It's Queen Talk. It's like leveling up in all areas of your life, from relationships and health and wellness and family and career, whatever will help us elevate. Because I really believe when women are doing well by mind, body, and spirit, everything we touch is going to do so much better. And we touch, as women, we touch a lot.
Right.
We're everywhere. So if we're doing well, the world, the planet is going to do well.
Beautiful.
Yes. So please, yeah,
Thank you so
join me
much.
there.
Thank you
I
so much.
appreciate this, Karen. This has been fun and fabulous.
Fun and fabulous.
It's fun and fabulous. And I'm trying to have more fun. And that's one of the things I'm like, I can't do it all. Like I had to like step back from doing some acting because it takes a lot of time and
Right.
like, but there are things that I can do and I can blend into my life. And so I am whenever I can.
Yeah.
So I got to be
Well, I'd love to
creative.
check in with you again maybe next year and see, see what's going on. Lots
See
of
what's
things.
new.
Yeah, see what's new. Lots of things going on.
And see if I listened
and
to Seth.
and maybe meet your mum too. Maybe we'll get your mum on as well.
Oh, that would be great. That would be great. That wouldn't be very hard to do. I'm sure we could definitely pull
Sort
that
that out.
off. Yeah, that would be fun.
Big love to you.
Thank you so much, Karen. I appreciate it. And thank you everyone who watched this.
What do you think of Bernette? Isn't she gorgeous? Oh, as usual, we turned off the recording and we chatted about so many things because it's late over there. She wanted to do the recording after she put the kids to bed and made dinner for everybody. So we started late, which was kind of nice for me. I had the morning off, so we didn't start recording until 1 o'clock here. So I answered a million emails, but more to come. But yes, we talked about spirit attachment and astral realms of earth and vibrational spheres, and I said, such a shame we didn't have a recording on, but I'm going to get it back on the show next year and we can go into all those sorts of things. If you're interested, let me know. But yeah, I'm a woman on a mission. She's up to so many things, but I loved that channeling of Seth'a. I just loved it. Just loved it, loved it, loved it. Anyway, what do you think? Yes, coming up. What's coming up? What's coming up? Oh, a few things coming up. I can never remember who's coming up. I have to look at the diary. Courtney Beck, yeah, channeling for the Inner Sanctum in December in a couple of weeks, in about 2 or 3 weeks. 3 weeks, depending on when you're listening to this. This is we're the 21st of November today, but this will come out probably. It'll be in about 2 weeks. Yeah. So yeah, and a few other people coming up for the show. I haven't got too much to say today. I'm going to go and have a cup of tea. But I hope you enjoyed the show. Let me know in your comments, and please like and subscribe and all that great stuff, and join our newsletter for updates, and I'll see you again soon. Big love. Bye for now.